I would open the floor. If any of you have any question, don't hesitate to ask whatever questions you have, because your question might be helpful to other people. And one thing about it also is that everyone here is kind of like on a similar journey. So don't hesitate to ask your question, because it might be helpful to other people as well. And I like what you guys are doing by raising your hands, because it helps me be able to go through those that have questions. So at least I think you had your hand up first, so I'll go with you.
Thank you. Actually, first of all, hello everyone. Actually, I appreciate this time. I feel like it'll just help us kind of just, get some questions out the way, because I know during the week, especially, it's quite busy for everyone. But I have a suggestion. As we, I feel like we are a team. We are on different journey. I mean, similar journey, but at different levels. Maybe maybe we could introduce ourselves and see where we are, and see how we can help one another. I don't know if that's okay with everyone. Kind of just going through and introducing, like, a brief introduction. So, to get to know each other, like your name, what you like to do, and where you are with your journey in DevOps, right? So
sure. That's a good idea. If you feel that that's something you want to do, please feel free to do it. You can raise your hand and we can just go like that. And if it's something you don't feel comfortable doing, it's also fine as well. So, but that's a good idea. And let me start then.
Yeah, sure.
At least you can go next, since.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, hi everyone. My name is Aziz Salu. I am pretty much I am a DevOps engineer now. So I am an AWS /DevOps engineer. So I like to think the position are somewhat related, because even as a cloud engineer, we don't do anything manually. Everything we do is still automated in one way or the other. So that is why I market myself as a cloud or DevOps engineer. What I like to do, over the years, things has changed, but as of recently, what I like to do is learning. I'm always learning something on YouTube as it relates to AWS. So every day I am always doing something AWS related, whether it's working on the next project for you guys, or just learning about some other technologies that I need to develop my skills in. My journey as a cloud engineer started a couple of years back when I used to work as a mechanical designer. So my main reason for wanting to switch to cloud then was because I wanted a job that allowed me to have the flexibility of working from home, that pays a little bit more than what I was making then. And to be honest, those were like just the main two reasons then why I wanted to switch my field. But when I was learning about doing the research, I found out about cloud through my cousin. And when I did enough research on it, I was very convinced that's what I wanted to do. So the first course I took was a Udemy course, and the course was just on the AWS Cloud Practitioner and Solutions Architect, which is pretty much the same thing I'm sharing with you guys now. Then after that, I did my certification exams. And when I did my certification exams and I passed, I realized that I still didn't know anything. But I can speak about AWS in terms of telling you what the services are, how they work, and things like that. But if you ask me to launch an EC2 instance, maybe I could launch an EC2 instance, but if I had to do things like creating key pairs, troubleshooting the reasons why I couldn't SSH into an EC2 instance, creating an application load balancer, and all those things, I was struggling with it back then. So that was when I realized that I needed to do hands-on projects to develop my skills, which led me to the hands-on project, because then I couldn't find any hands-on project online. Main thing I found was like someone would do demo here and there, but there isn't like a full end-to-end project that shows you how all those services connect to each other. Then when I did those projects, I started sharing it with one of my colleagues that was also learning AWS at the time. Then from there, it pretty much turned into something I wanted to share with whoever is on the same journey. And that is how I came about that is pretty much how I started AOS Note. It was just something that happened out of chance. And that's what the journey has been for me so far. Thank you.
Oh, great. That was elaborate. Awesome. I might not make it that far, but
yeah, sure.
I'll keep it short. But yeah, so I'm Elise. I go by Lisa. I live in the Dallas, Texas area. I am a Scrum Master at the moment, and as a Scrum Master, honestly, I'm just looking for some more just a little bit of challenge. Honestly, I that's the reason why I'm switching to DevOps. And not only that, obviously the pay and being able to work from home, those are all the things that I'm looking forward to. So I'm in my first, I guess I've done a few projects, like the first 2 projects. So I'm quite in the beginning, like the beginning stages, and I'm super just excited about the future, and hopefully I can learn from you all. And I'm looking forward to it. So that's it for me. I'm gonna call on Miguel. I think Miguel was next.
Yeah, thanks, Alice.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. That's a good introduction, Aziz and Elise. Hi, everyone. My name is Miguel. I work as a nursing assistant at the NHS nurse Barnet. Me and my wife got here just a year ago. We came from the Philippines. I used to work there as a team manager at a contact center, working for AT&T, and call that it's like a LiDAR reading something with another BPO. So we went here. When I realized the compensation for healthcare workers, I told myself that I'm not going to do this forever.
Okay.
Although I had background in nursing, but I wasn't able to finish because I'm only 3rd year. I'm undergraduate, but I never liked the degree. So I don't have any degree, guys. But I've seen a lot of videos that you don't need a degree. And that's what Aziz also told in his vlogs, that you don't need a degree to get a career in cloud. So what you just need is dedication and really hard work. So my goal is I have questions for Aziz, but I think I'm gonna ask that later during the question and answer.
Okay.
But I'm already AWS Cloud Practitioner Certified and Solutions Architect Associate Certified. I same with Aziz, I want to get my hands on the technology, because those are just theoretical, although it helps big time. I spent about a year to pass those certifications, and now I really want more exposure for the projects, because that's what's gonna get me the job, not the certification. So I'm excited. I'm you guys can call me Miguel. I'm excited about this. I'm looking forward to this meeting. I think it's recurring every Saturday. Thank you, Aziz, for doing this.
You're welcome.
Yeah, because the one-on-one or the coaching for technical side is really critical, I believe. And I know that it might be challenging for you, Aziz, to do this because you're just one. And it's like more than, I don't know how many hundreds of us here. But this video will really help. This meeting will help us, aside from the community who's helping one another. That's really gonna be helpful to us, especially I'm sure most of us will get stuck along the way. It's not easy, me as well. My goal is really to be a solutions architect, but I realize it's a senior role. To be realistic, I need to apply for a junior roles or for entry level roles. So I wanted to be a cloud engineer role. So that's why I found this program very useful. Actually, I found this program via Tech with Lucy. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, that's it. So I signed up. So that's it. Welcome aboard, guys.
Thank you, Miguel. It's
You're
nice
welcome.
having you, and I'm very excited to actually meet you guys in person. Thank you. I think Kofi is next. Hi, Kofi.
Hello, Aziz. Thank you for this session. Hello,
You're
everyone.
welcome.
My name is Kofi Tameta. Basically, I graduated in 2021 and I got my bachelor in finance. So I started the job search, which was not really fun. I've got some offer, but the pay was not like that. So I had one of my friends who was bugging me about DevOps to get into it, to do the training. So I was like, no, let me finish this. I'm trying to get my MFA, and then maybe I can look into it. So down the road, like I was facing a lot of challenges, and curiously, I found out online where they were offering a training for 6 months to become a business analyst. So I registered, and since it was kind of in my field, I studied, and throughout the courses, I got attracted to technology side of the thing. So after the training for the 6 months, it was also a little bit difficult because they have to market you, find a job, do the interview, and what they were offering was not really clear, because some of them, they might even take the interview for you. But that situation, if you go to the site to do the work, it's gonna be really, really hard on yourself because you didn't really do it on your own, and for them just to get the percentage of the pay. So I quit them, and then I registered for another training. And after the training, I started applying, and I got some interview, the recruiter, and I even went with Amazon interview, which I was really rooting for it. But at the last round, which took me 4 hours because I had 4 different interviewers, they didn't take me. So it was kind of, I was a little bit discouraged because I put in so much effort and it didn't work out. And fortunately, I found you online on LinkedIn. And then I sent you a message and wanted to get more hands-on, because I think in the field is more to be able to talk about what you know in the field, what you can build, and easily discuss about it with the recruiter, which sometimes is hard depending on what type of question the interviewer is asking. So yeah, I'm still here in the journey. Hopefully it work out this time. It's not easy, but it's worth it. And I really want to be able to work from home and, take care of the family and do something else as well.
Yes. Thank you, Kofi. So one thing I can say is definitely it is going to work out. That's the mindset I want you to have. There is no reason why it shouldn't work out. This is not a field where you can try out and see, and you think by luck you are going to get into something. It is not one of those fields. And the reasons why I say that is because if we go on just Indeed alone and we search for cloud engineer jobs, you will see that we will get tens of thousands of positions. And that is just on Indeed alone. And as you know, sometimes most tech companies don't even put the job out on forums like Indeed. They use whatever means they use to fill in people for the position. So there is jobs. There is tons of jobs. There is so much jobs that I think there's more position than the amount of engineers that are trained that could fill those positions. So that should be exciting for you, because now you know that you starting this journey, when you finally have all the skills you need to be a cloud engineer, you know that it won't be one of those things that, for example, someone that went to college, got a 4-year degree, and you couldn't even find a job doing what you went to school for, which was one of the issues I was facing when I was in my previous field. Anytime I wanted to change position, it was very hard, one, to find the position that I want in an area that I want to live and the amount of money I want to make. So I always have to compromise on one of the two. Either I found a position in the middle of nowhere. For example, at that time, I was living in Pennsylvania. I was living in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania, no family. Where I was living was so remote. We only had one Walmart in the area for everybody that's living in like 2 and 3 cities next to each other. And there was no mall, we only had a Walmart and a giant couple of grocery stores. That was it. And I was there because that was the only job at the time, the only company at the time that would hire me. So in cloud, you don't have those same problems because there are tons of jobs. You can find a job in the city you want to live, that you can find a job in the city you are currently living in, or you can find a remote job with a company that is located anywhere in the world. So I'm saying all that to say that in your cloud journey, all you really need is yourself. As long as you are willing to dedicate yourself, develop the necessary skills you need to learn, trust me, you'll get a job. It's only a matter of time. And that is one thing that is very exciting about this field, is that all the effort you put in is not going to go to waste, because there are tons and tons and tons and tons of jobs out there, you know? So I know as you guys are speaking, I'm taking notes, and on certain things you guys said that I would like to talk about as we go on. So I'll leave it at there for now, that Kofi, you are doing the right thing and you are on the right path. It is only a matter of time. The same issues you have faced with other fields you've tried, you are not going to have that issue with trying to be a cloud and DevOps engineer. I can guarantee you that.
Thank you.
No problem. Delante, how are you?
Hey, good morning. Good morning, everyone. I just want to say, my name is Delante. I'm from Washington, D.C. I've been in the IT field for the last 6 years, mostly doing help desk and desktop support and some account configuration. My goal is to start off probably as a junior DevOps engineer. I initially wanted to do cybersecurity, so I have like my Security Plus and CASP. What made me transition into the cloud was one day I got a call from a recruiter for an Amazon a cloud administrator role, because one of my positions I have experience with one of the tools in AWS, which is Amazon Connect, which is I was using in a call center. I didn't actually know that Amazon had a console. So she asked, did I know anything about Amazon? I'm like, yeah, but I'm just thinking about that one specific tool. So I actually ended up getting an interview with the hiring manager, and he was asking me so much stuff about the console management, and I had no clue. The position was paying in the upper 90K, so it was more than what I was getting paid. So obviously I didn't get the position. But since then I was like, you know what, let me go learn AWS. I ended up studying for the cloud practitioner and then passed it. Then I started studying for the solution architect. While I was studying for the solution architect, I found out about your AZ projects through Tech with Lucy. So I was studying and trying to do the project. Well, I actually didn't start the project. I signed up, but didn't start the project. So my first attempt at the solution architect, I actually failed. I wasn't as focused as I was supposed to. So I said, you know what, let me go ahead and start this project. So as I started doing the project, it gave me more understanding of from an infrastructure side, VPC, the network, and it gave me more clarity on everything. So by the second attempt, I passed it with a good score. So I want to thank you for the projects. It definitely been helping me a lot. I think I'm like on the fourth project.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's what got me into the cloud, and it's intriguing. I think it's more exciting for me as a career compared to cybersecurity. So I do have my solution architect, so I'm 2-time certified, and I'm working towards SysOp certification. And I just want to thank you for the program because it has helped me a lot as far as with learning Linux as well. I didn't know that much about Linux, but I'm getting more and more understanding. And how I keep up to date is I stay on LinkedIn a lot. I follow a lot of cloud resources to keep me update on stuff. But yeah, that's about it.
Yes, thank you, Delante, and thank you for pretty much your feedback on the project, and congratulations on passing your certification exams. It definitely sounds like you are on the right path and you are doing what you need to do to develop the skills you need. So thank you for that. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So if anybody else wants to introduce themselves that hasn't, you feel free to do so. You don't have to, but I will encourage that. Don't hesitate to ask any questions you have. I always like to say, you guys think I know a whole bunch of stuff, but I just feel like I've gotten myself to a position where if you tell me to do something in the cloud, and which I don't know it all, trust me, there's still so much stuff I need to learn. But if you ask me to do something, I have enough resources and enough knowledge that I know where to start doing research to do what I need to do. So that's how I want you guys to see. So yeah, there is no stupid question. There's no dumb questions. Please ask any questions you have, and we will try to help each other out to pretty much be on the right path of what we need to learn. All right, Miguel, please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, thank you, Aziz. It really makes us feel that, we are, I feel like you're humble, and it feels like you are on the same level with us. We don't think that you're higher than us, so it makes us feel comfortable. So I really like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions. So I did mention that my goal is to be an SA, though it's just a senior role. So I chose to be an engineer because it's one of my stepping stone to reach my goal.
Exactly.
When I was a kid, I always break my toys because I was curious what's inside, and I cannot put them back anymore, so they're broken.
Yeah.
So engineering has also been in my system, although I wasn't able to study for that before. Am I on the right track? I just want to ask if I'm on the right path, because I enrolled into the program and doing hands-on projects that I can showcase to my employer and to get the cloud engineering job or role. Am I on the right path?
Yes, thank you, Miguel. I would definitely say you are on the right path in terms of being a solutions architect. And I need to do a little bit more research on the role of a solutions architect. But from what I understand about solutions architect, I've worked on some projects that we do have a solutions architect. The way I see them is a solutions architect are similar to any type of architect. Let's say like a building architect, for example. So the job of a solutions architect is, for example, if I as a company come to you, Miguel, as the solutions architect, you are the solutions architect, and I am a company, and I came to you and I said, I want to deploy my application in the cloud. My application is hosted in Java. We are using RDS. We are using all these tools, and I just give you all my requirements, and I want you to help me design a solution to to host my application in the cloud. From what I understand as a solutions architect, you as a solutions architect would design this, what that solution will look like for me. So that would be where, when we come to those reference architecture you guys see with all the services on it and the diagram, how the services will connect with each other, and pretty much everything we need to do to bring your requirement into the cloud and make it a live solution. So that's what I see a solutions architect's job as. So they don't necessarily do implementing, which is once they design the solutions, then somehow it gets handed over to the DevOps engineer or the cloud engineer, and the cloud engineer would build it out. So as a solutions architect, one of the best routes you can go by to learn anything is, if you can do it, then you can speak about it. So since solutions architect job would require you to know a lot of the AWS services, not necessarily how to implement them on a deeper level, but you need to understand those services very well enough that if based on any requirements that is brought to you, you can pick the services you feel will be appropriate to deploy the customer solution based on their requirement. So the best route to go to it would be where you are now, which is getting the hands-on experience. At least with doing the project, that will get you a good hands-on experience on a lot of the services. Then any service that is not covered in the project, you can also either complete a project of your own or do more research to fill in the gap on services you feel you should know as a solutions architect that may not be covered in the project. But all in all, if you go through the route of being a cloud engineer and a DevOps engineer, and getting a job in those positions and learning as much as you can learn in those positions, it is definitely one of the best routes you can use to get to being a solutions architect.
I think you're right, Aziz, because I realize I really want this role now to be a cloud engineer, because this is a foundation to be an SA. I want to be a good engineer, because you can't architect, you can't build something that you don't know.
Exactly.
That's why this program is really good, because it's really gonna get my hands dirty and teaches me the foundation and the technology. Is a SysOps DevOps certification needed as a cloud engineer?
No, it is not. So when you start your cloud journey and you are trying to get a job, the SysOps certification is not needed. But if you have time to do it, do it. Because one of the main reasons why I recommend doing the AWS certification is because it helps you keep up that knowledge on the practical side of understanding what AWS services are on a deeper level and what they are used for and things like that. So your certification knowledge, even if you go for the SysOps now, it will serve you in two ways that I can say, probably in more ways, but two ways that I can think of. One of the ways it will serve you is it will help you keep up your knowledge in a sharp way, because since you are actively studying for those certifications and you are doing it, those knowledge will be fresh in your mind. And they can also serve as an idea to bring to the project, to do a project on what you are learning in your class on while you study for the SysOps. Another way it can help you is on your resume. When you put them there, it just looks good on your resume. So I always say certifications get you noticed on your resume, but they don't help you keep the job. Because if you have certifications and you can't do the job, you would definitely have a hard time in the position. So, but they help you get noticed when the recruiters are looking at your resume and they say, oh, Miguel has 3 certifications, 4 certifications. So certifications are definitely good in that sense. So to answer your question, I would say while you guys are doing the project, the main two certifications I recommend is Cloud Practitioner and Solutions Architect to start.
Right.
Then when you finish those, start working on the projects. And while you are working on the projects, in your main time, try to take the exam while you are working on the projects on those two courses you have complete. Once you've completed those two certifications, while you are still working on the project, if you feel like you need to go for more certification, certainly you should do that. And anyone you want to pick, whether it's sysops or the developer, anyone you want to pick, you can go for it.
Right. Thank you. I agree. Aziz, I enrolled into the Cloud Mentorship program. I'm aware that you have YouTube videos. So this is a monthly membership. Are the courses in our program are also in the YouTube video, because that has a different membership again. That's like $8.99 a month. So will we get the same chance to access those courses in your YouTube videos, because you have a lot there?
Yes. So that's a good question, and I get that questions a lot. So the main thing about the YouTube mentorship and the YouTube program and the mentorship program is, in the mentorship program, I'm kind of giving you guys a roadmap on what you need to be doing to become a cloud engineer. Because when I started, that was one of the difficult things, is there wasn't just anyone I could ask about what do I need to be doing. And I actually wasted a lot of time trying to find the answers, because there was so many information online and I just couldn't find someone to tell me what I need to be doing when I need to be doing it. So that's the main point of the mentorship program. As it stands now, there are 16 projects in it. And those projects, while one thing I will also mention about those projects is, I recommend that you should not skip any of the projects. Even if you feel you know it, I still want you to complete it. Since you know it, you should be able to complete that project and move on to the next one. So I recommend that you should not skip any project, with the exception of the cloud formation project, because I would rather you focus more attention on Terraform, but still complete the cloud formation project at your own time when you feel it is necessary. So yes, the main difference between the mentorship program and the YouTube one is because the mentorship one kind of has the roadmap to guide you through what you need to be doing as a cloud engineer. In the YouTube projects, those projects are also in your mentorship program. So when if I create any project for YouTube, I will still put it in the mentorship program. So if you're already in the mentorship program, you don't have to sign up for the YouTube. And as it stands, the YouTube project only has 4 projects in it. You watch the videos on YouTube with ads, and you troubleshoot your own issues on your own. So I'm kind of like doing that for people that feel they already know what they are doing, so they don't necessarily want to go through the mentorship roadmap, and they just want to complete 1 or 2 projects. So that is the main difference.
Perfect. Thank you. You've answered my question. I think that's it for now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Miguel. Kofi, you can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. The IT field is kind of unpredictable. There's so much change happening every single day. I know I registered for the for the bootcamp since December. I studied some program, I skipped some. Now you mentioned that it's not good to skip. My question is, there's so many nowadays. There's so many should I say resources? There are many people out there doing training, coming up with different projects to help you get job. And sometimes it keep you off way, like it doesn't help you be focused on one thing. So I wanted to know what's best strategy to use to be focusing, mastering Skills that are gonna help you get the job.
Exactly. Good question. So the best strategy to use to get a job is, and by all means, I don't know what is in everyone's program, right? But I can speak about my program and the roadmap that I've laid out for you guys, right? The roadmap that I've laid out for you guys is actually what I learned along the way when I was transitioning from where you guys are now to where I am. So those are the things I found you have to learn in the order that you have to learn it. So, which is why I always say, this is pretty much how you have to look at it. In order to, I will also say the first time I started learning about AWS, one of the first program I found, I took it. It was just like a 2-hour course on AWS, but it wasn't a beginner's course. It was something where right away, as soon as the program started, they were talking about EC2, RDS, all these things. And I got so lost and I said, oh, what does these things mean? I don't know anything about this. So I told myself that this field seems very hard because I absolutely have no idea what they are talking about in this program. So I stopped learning about it. And for another 8 months, I didn't learn about it. Then again, I was still at my old job and I was still going through the same issues I was having at my job, and I was still desperate to change my position. So I said, I'm going to go back to this AWS thing again, and I'll try to learn it this time. And that's when I went on Udemy and I found a course on Udemy, which was a cloud practitioner course. I took it, and that was able to help me understand the first step of things I need to do. So to answer your question, I would say when you are learning about the cloud, there are 3 concepts you should follow. The first concept is understanding what you want to build, what the services are. So for example, the first part is taking those cloud practitioner, solutions architect, whether SysOps course, because they help you understand what it is you are going to be building and what they are using it for. If you don't understand that first part, you will have a hard time when you try to do this next part. And the next part is, once you understand what the services are, the next part is you need to be able to build those services in the management console. So first, you learn about the service. Next, you apply what you've learned by building those services in the management console. The reason why I recommend building those services in the management console is because they let you understand the management console better. When you work in the management console, as you guys will find out, you troubleshoot a lot because it is very easy to make mistakes in the management console. So working in the management console just allows you to see what you are doing and help you pretty much pick the things you want to pick. So you have another level of understanding of how those services work. Then once you have finished the management console part, the next part is everything you've built in the management console. Now you need to be able to automate everything, because at your job, your company does not allow you to either launch EC2 instance from the management console or terminate EC2 instance from the management console, or even launch any services from the management console. You will only have access to the management console to see the services that you guys are using in there and verify that. For example, if you have just recently deployed something with Terraform, you want to make sure that the service is there and the configuration is set up as you want it to be set up. So the management console is only, most companies, well, all the projects I've worked on, we only have the management console for read-only, and you will only have read-only access, which means you can't launch EC2 instance there. And there's a reason why it is like that. One, if you think about it, you can't have every employee at the company just clicking away in the management console. And two, it is much slower to use to manually deploy things than automating it. So automation allows your company to move very fast. So that is why we have those steps there. So once you have done your project in the management console, you need to automate it. So those are the steps that I recommend you take, which is why I said don't skip any of those steps. Don't skip any of those steps. Don't, for example, if you are a beginner, don't start by just doing projects in the management console before you start learning about the service itself. And don't start on Terraform when you don't even know what the services you are trying to build is, or how to even configure the service in the management console. So, and when it comes to the program, I'm not saying that my program has all the things you need to learn, but the main point of my program and what I am trying to achieve with you guys is, I found this on LinkedIn and I took a screenshot of it. I feel like this picture alone based on working in the field, describes exactly what you need to do to be a cloud engineer. This picture describes it perfectly. And that is why, and I've had my program before I found this picture, but this picture helps me reinforce that idea to you guys. And basically, to be a cloud engineer, you need some fundamental skills and you need some advanced skills. On the fundamental side, you need to have fundamental skills in Linux. You can get those skills from the project you are doing now by launching EC2 instance. We SSH into the EC2 instance and we run different commands to install whatever application we are trying to install on the EC2 instance. Believe it or not, that was my introduction to Linux too. And that is how I learned Linux, from launching an EC2 instance and doing projects by trying to install an application on the EC2 instance. So that was how I learned Linux. In the coming projects you'll be doing, when we get to the automation side, we'll be using Git, which is when we will commit our code in our repository to our computer, and we'll be pushing it back to our GitHub repository. So you'll get to work with Git in those projects. And then the next thing is you need to learn about one cloud provider. I'll tell you now, I only know AWS as well. I don't know Google's platform or Azure. I only know AWS. And the reason why I'm sticking to AWS is because there is just so much to learn. And I don't want to, I feel like since I still feel like I'm still learning too, I don't want to dilute my knowledge by jumping into Azure and trying to learn a little bit of something in Azure and Google. I would rather stick with AWS, learn as much as I can learn there, and be as efficient as I can be. Then once I feel like I know what it is to know about AWS, if I want to do Azure, then I would do Azure. But on this part, when you are starting out, I would say pick one cloud practitioner, pick one cloud provider and stick with it. Then on the fundamental side, we have like a scripting, learning how to script. And when you think of the cloud, I want you guys to understand that you don't necessarily have to know Python, you don't necessarily have to be a Python programmer. I don't know Python as a Python programmer, but I have a good foundational knowledge on Python that I can use Python to script something in AWS. And that is what you need to know. As long as you have the good foundational knowledge of, if you want to, for example, let's say you want to find out how many EC2 instances are running in all your accounts that are using a particular security groups. That is something you can use Python to do. And as long as you know how to do that, you are fine. So you don't have to. So one of the questions I always get is like, people say, do I have to code? I don't want to code. What we do in the cloud is not really coding. We do a lot of scripting. And by scripting, the documentation for what you are trying to do is already out there. You just go to the documentation, copy their sample syntax, and modify it to what you are trying to do. So you only just need to understand Python and be able to use it to script something in AWS. Then on the advanced side, they have Terraform here, which is how we automate things. And they have the Docker, ECS, ECR, Kubernetes. And here we have CI/CD pipeline. If you guys look how I've organized your project, you will see that your project are also organized in this order. We start with the Cloud Practitioner Solutions Architect course. Once you finish those, we start the basic project, which is you are hosting an HTML website on an EC2 instance. That helps you learn about Linux. That helps you run some Linux command, and that just helps you in this area. Then while you are doing that, you're also learning about AWS. And as the project proceeds, you would have, there's certainly like extensive project that helps you, that you will be using Git as you go. Then there's also extensive project that we are using Terraform. And now there is extensive project that you are using Docker. The only thing I don't have in the project now is Kubernetes. And I would say that even you guys starting out, don't worry about Kubernetes for now. And the reason why I say that is because there are certain knowledge you need to pick up before you start learning Kubernetes. Just the same way I said you need to understand how to build the services in the management console, and before you start building them in Terraform, yes, you need to have worked on all these projects before you start Kubernetes, because I feel like when you work on all this foundational knowledge, by the time you start Kubernetes, it will make you understand it better. And to also be transparent with you guys, I've been working in the cloud field for many years now, and I still don't know Kubernetes. Not because I can't learn it. I do plan on learning it in the coming months, and I do want to learn it and make the project available to you guys as well. But in all the projects that I've worked in, we haven't had to use Kubernetes. So it wasn't very important to what we have been doing in those projects. But in those projects, we've been using a lot of ECR, Docker, Fargate services, which is what I know. So if you don't know Kubernetes as a beginner, don't feel like you need to know it. I know you will see it a lot on the job requirements, but I would say as a beginner, don't start learning about Kubernetes until you've learned all the other things you need to learn. So that is what I would say about Kubernetes. And the last project that I'm working on, which that project will be out in 2 weeks, is a full CI/CD project. So I know I have some CI/CD project in the course, but I have decided to work on a full CI/CD project for you guys that you will be deploying one of the projects from end to end. By end to end, I mean from the beginning to the end. And if we have time, I will demo it for you guys today. And if we don't have time, you guys can remind me. I will demo it some other time for you guys. By end to end, I mean you are not going to be touching anything. Once we do all of our setup and we write our configuration for our CI/CD in the YAML file, it would literally do everything for you. So these are, if I can zoom in here so you guys can see, these are all the things that we are doing now, that you guys are learning now in all the projects. And by the time you get to the CI/CD, you will have a pipeline that literally does all that stuff for you. So that is the main thing I am trying to teach you guys in this program. Is I want to get you guys, if I've done anything right in this program, is that I want to get you guys very efficient in this knowledge of these services. And you don't have to be an expert at it, but I just want you to have a good knowledge on it, that you can take this knowledge and use it to work on other projects of your own. So basically, I want to get you to a point where this knowledge serves as a foundational knowledge that even if they ask you to do something in the cloud, even if you don't know it, you already have enough foundational knowledge that you can use to start. So I hope that makes sense. I know it's kind of like a long answer, but the program is my idea for the program you guys are taking, and all the projects I have aligned in the order that I've aligned them are centered around this idea of what you need to learn and in the order you need to learn them, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Thanks, Aziz.
Yes. Sorry, I need to. One thing about Zoom is like when you are sharing your screen, I can't see who has their hands raised. So I'm just going to stop share so I can see everyone again. Okay. So who else? I'm not sure who was next. Abdul, I haven't heard from Abdul, so I'll pick Abdul, then we'll go with Edgar, and then Elise, I'll come back to you. So Abdul, go ahead.
Hey guys, good morning. Hey Aziz. Hi everyone. Nice to meet you all. Yeah, Aziz, I recently I just joined this course like 2 weeks ago. Started going through the program. And one thing that I'll say, the resources are really, really helpful. And for some reason, I've been glued to it. Doing it back and forth. Mm-hmm. For me, my background, I am a Linux systems engineer.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I do have the opportunity at work sometimes, to partake in project, on our AWS environment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do dabble there a bit back and forth, sometimes using Ansible to deploy some of our applications, Tomcats, Java applications and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I am familiar my way around it, like some of the services, what they do, but there was some things that was blurry. But after I took your course, and for example, Route 53, I've never implemented anything there.
Mm-hmm.
I've never done anything there. That was pretty new for me. And the EC, the certification manager,
mm-hmm.
That's something that I have not done. And that was pretty eye-opening for me, because I was like, oh, okay. So basically this is where they come in and renew those certs, or, encrypt those SSLs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to implement that on the project and, move through swiftly, and the Docker containers, like you said, the ECR and the ECS and all that. So I started working on some of those projects.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, projects have been really, really helpful. And I'm always trying to make that switch from that Linux systems engineering role to either cloud or DevOps or DevSecOps.
Mm-hmm.
That's the plan that I'm going with. And to be honest, your course has been really, really helpful. And I think one of the courses that I really enjoyed there was the first one that I took off related, creating the tier 3 application,
mm-hmm.
The VPCs and subnets and all that, and then the RDS. That was a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to do that on the console, and then trying to do it on the Terraform, I think I did come up with some issues.
Mm-hmm.
I think I mentioned that because before I used to have a Linux machine, but I changed. Now I have a Mac laptop.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'll redo that project, because I'm importing the database using the MySQL developer.
Mm-hmm.
But when I try to pull it from the setup server, create an AMI from it, I'm getting 500 error. But I know that's just something probably I misconfigured.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's been really, really, good course, and definitely looking forward to try and get more. And then maybe one of these days I could just ping you, you could help me check my resume, and
Sure.
just to fit in my Linux background
Sure.
into that cloud environment, because I've seen a lot of knowing Linux, just as you mentioned before to every one of the guys here. If you know Linux, trust me, you will progress a lot within this cloud environment, especially AWS. Because Linux, you're going to be needed. So yeah. And I copied one of I saw that you have a sample resume and stuff. So I'm looking at that, trying to review mine and see if there's anything, add some of those skills that I've already acquired from the course. But like I said, definitely looking forward to that full end-to-end CI/CD pipeline course.
Okay. Yeah.
So thank you.
No problem, Abdul. Thank you so much. And yes, he is very right. Abdul, you are already probably about 50% into the cloud, because Linux is such a good foundation for learning the cloud. Because everything in cloud is Linux based in one way or the other. When you are scripting some type of thing, it has Linux in it. Like, so if you already understand Linux, you are pretty much almost halfway in. The only thing you need to learn is, as you said, some of the AWS services and how to configure them. And that would certainly help you out a lot in your cloud journey. So you are doing the right thing. Thank you for your feedback. And my goal is, I am very much dedicated to helping you guys learn what you guys need to learn to be efficient. I'm not saying that I am not, by no means do I know it all either, right? But I have enough good foundational knowledge that I can use it. Trust me, when I go to work every day, and when we start a new sprint, sometimes they assign things, most of the time, they assign things to me that I haven't even done before. But I am still able to complete the tasks. Why? Because I already have enough foundational knowledge in the cloud that if something gets assigned to me, right, I can rely on the knowledge of things the knowledge that I have based on things I've done in the past, and use that to go do research. And I'm taking notes, and I do want to address those things as we go. So about the cloud, one thing I would mention now before I go to Edgar is, you are not expected to, for example, if I say, Abdul, I want you to, we need a DynamoDB table that does this and that, right? They are not expecting you to have the DynamoDB table up in the next 1 hour, right? They have given you their requirement. And usually our sprints, and Alice will be someone that is good at this because she's a Scrum Master, so she can explain to you guys as well. Usually at work, we have sprints. Our sprint is every 2 weeks. So meaning that every 2 weeks, we start a new task that will be assigned to you. Let's say we are all the member of the team and we have something to build. Each part of what we need to be built will be assigned to everyone on the team. And whatever is assigned to you during that sprint, you have 2 weeks to get it done. So if I'm assigning, creating a DynamoDB table to Abdul in this sprint, that means you have this sprint to do your research on what you need to do to be able to implement the DynamoDB table and configure whatever requirements they've given you. So that is an exciting thing to learn, to know about the cloud, is that when they give you a requirement to do something, they are not expecting you in the next 30 minutes to 1 hour to have it up. So it is exciting for you because now you know that you just need to go in with a good foundational knowledge on AWS services. You just need to go in with a good foundational knowledge that you can rely on those knowledge to build other things, but you don't have to know it all. So that's the exciting thing about it. So the projects will help you guys get really good foundational knowledge on how to work your way around the management console, AWS, Terraform, CI/CD, and all those things. And my goal is that to get you guys to a point where you can rely on those knowledge to build other things as well. So that's what I want you guys to keep in mind. I would respond to the comments in the chat once we go through everyone. So please bear with me. So Edgar, I'll go with you.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. My name is Edgar, and I'm here in Silicon Valley in San Jose, and I'm beginning my journey to transition my desktop support engineer and traditional IT to cloud DevOps cloud engineer. Right now, we are on the same boat, and then let's support each other and grow together for assist. So I plan to implement the knowledge gained from your video tutorials. So your instructional approach is like incredibly like straightforward and comprehensible, to the extent that even my grandma or grandpa could even like now easily follow. so, so yeah. So thank you, Aziz, for us like for this like good video tutorials for us.
You're welcome.
And that's it.
Thank you, Edgar. It's nice meeting you. And I do apologize because I don't have camera on my desktop. So that is why I don't have camera on. If you guys, I don't know if you guys can see my thing. You see that I don't even have camera on this thing, but I'll definitely get a camera, and I would be, when I do this live session, I want to be doing it so that you guys can see me, and
Sure.
just so for me to be transparent. So for now, please bear with me.
Sure.
It's definitely nice meeting you, Edgar, and it is nice putting a face to your name. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, Elise, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So my question, I need to think about it really quickly. Okay, so so the first question I had was like if we could, I know we're still going through the projects and stuff like that, but like do you have like, could you give us like maybe every class that we have, maybe like 1 or 2 questions that could come up during an interview, right? And maybe how does your day-to-day look like, at work? What are the tasks that you do? Obviously you spoke that, you said that, you work in 2 weeks, in iterations, and but what is it that, when you come in, what do you do, and things like that. So we kind of have an idea as well as we, go through these projects, but also start, developing like a kind of like a scenario, right? To prepare ourselves for the interview, for the interviews as well. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's a good question. And one thing that's actually one of the things I've been struggling with too, to be honest, is not necessarily the question itself, but how can you guys talk about your day-to-day when you haven't worked in the position before, and this is the first time you are doing it, and for what it stands, you are doing a lot of projects to get your knowledge up. So certainly if you for someone like Edgar that has already have an IT experience, it is would be much easier for him to tie what he is learning now into his day-to-day. And also for Abdul, for example, that works as a Linux administrator, it will be much easier for him to tie his cloud experience to his day-to-day as a Linux administrator. But for someone that is coming from, let's say, a different background, right, that is not tech, one of the things I'm trying to figure out is exactly how you tie your cloud experience to your day-to-day. Because I don't necessarily want to encourage you guys to lie, but I want to encourage you guys to build. I would say that whatever you guys are doing now and the projects you guys are working on to build your skills are valid. If you can do if you can implement anything in the cloud, you can implement it. It doesn't matter whether you did it on a job or you did it while learning while working on a project. The main point is that you are able to do what your company needs you to do. So if however knowledge you use to be efficient at meeting your company's requirements is valid. So the best way that I'm just trying to help those that don't have the technical background is how we can tie this project into your day-to-day so you'll be able to speak about it. So certainly, at least I can give you guys. So maybe what I'll do is I'll think about it, and maybe when we meet, I will have a challenge that is centered around the project for you guys. And that way we will have like maybe one takeaway for every day when we meet. So that way we will just get you guys ready on things to expect. It could be centered around the project, and it could also be things to expect when you do the interview. But one thing I will also say with the interview is, as long as you guys are developing your skills and you are building your confidence in implementing the AWS services, you'll be fine in the interview. And don't worry about getting rejected. Trust me, I still get rejected at some interview, right? If you are not a fit, you are not a fit. Don't beat yourself up about it. There are tons of jobs. So that's one thing I want to mention, that if you are applying and you are not getting anything back, or you are being rejected, certainly don't worry about it. Keep applying and keep building your skills. Eventually you'll find the right company that is a right fit for you. And if you are applying and you're just not hearing anything back at all, then most likely there's something on your resume we need to work on. So then we can work on your resume. But as long as you are applying and you are getting something back, that is good. So for your interview, one thing I want to say about that is, once you build your knowledge, your interview will be more of a conversation. A good interviewer, you get some interviews, they just want to ask you, what is EC2? What is S3? I like to say those interviewers, maybe perhaps that's their own style of interviewing, but I don't think it is very efficient, because when you are interviewing someone from that standpoint, someone can just memorize certain things, and hopefully if you ask them what they've memorized, they can pass the interview. But a really good interview that I've done with the companies that I've stayed with for many years always centers around having a conversation. So the interviewer they've seen your resume, they like what they see on it. That is why they are interviewing you. So the conversation is always centered around your resume, which always seems like they are trying to get to know you as it relates to what you have done that you've put on your resume. So you just need to make sure that whatever you put on your resume, you can speak to everything you've put on your resume, you can speak about it. So which is why doing these projects, things that I can share my resume with you guys now. You guys will probably think my resume looks very basic, because everything we are working on in the projects is still what I have on my resume. I don't have anything fancy. I don't feel like you have to put all these tools, Kubernetes. I can show you my resume now. I don't have Kubernetes on my resume. And yet I still get, the last offer I got was in January. And I'm not saying don't learn Kubernetes. We are certainly going to learn Kubernetes. But the main point I'm trying to make is, don't feel like you have to lie on your resume. Just look at the job requirement. Whatever they are requiring you to know to work in that position, just try to do a project on it if you don't already have that knowledge to develop your skills, if that makes sense. So at least to answer your question, yes, we would definitely. And if there's anything in particular that you want to learn, as you prepare to get to that point where you'll be doing your interview one day, let me know and we will work on that as well.
Definitely. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, so that is it. Let me answer some questions in the chat. So yes, to answer your question, someone asked, being asked that the projects we are working on in our course, right? Is it relatable to like a real life scenario? And I would say yes, it is, because I can assure you that the ECS service project we are doing is, okay, all the projects I've worked on in the cloud, the VPC you guys are building is set up exactly the same. At your company will have a VPC with public and private subnets. The only difference from their VPC to what we are building is that they may choose to enable some other settings in the VPC that we did not enable in our VPC. That is fine. But I can assure you that almost all the VPC you will see while working is identical to, is exactly, with the exception of whatever settings they have enabled in their VPC, it is exactly the same as the one you are building now. It is going to be a public and private subnet VPC. And if you've configured an application load balancer, there is no special configuration for it at your job. It's the same. So, which is why the management console you have is the same management console they have at your job. So anything you've configured now and you know, those are the same thing you'll be doing at work. So if they ask you to configure an application load balancer, use the same step that you've used in the project. Things like setting up a record set in Rack 53, building your Docker image, and all those things we've done so far, those are exactly what you'll be doing at work. There isn't any different at all. The only difference might be your company might choose to go with enabling some additional settings in the service, and that is the only difference. But yes, the projects we are working on is definitely comparable to a real life example of what you are going to see at work. Certainly, the ECS project that I did is 100% identical to how the ECS service at my company is. Our ECS environment where we deployed an application, everything we are using in there and how everything is set up, it is very identical to what we have in the project. So yes, this project, the main point of this project is to help you learn the skills, help you get a job, and help you keep your job. So even when I'm working, some of these projects, when I do them and I don't work on them for some time, I may forget certain things. So from time to time, I also still reference the project to say, oh, this is how I did that. I still always reference my own videos to do something at work. So yes, the projects are definitely comparable to what you will see at work. I'm just going through it. Can I follow the same steps? Okay, I already answered that. So we are going to be having this meeting. I plan to have it every Saturday. So every Saturday, I am on Eastern Standard Time. So it is 11 a.m. here on my time. So it will be every Saturday starting at 11 a.m. So that's my way of meeting with you guys regularly to just keep in touch, make sure you guys are still staying motivated doing the projects, and also answer any questions you guys may have. So while you guys were talking, I was taking notes, and one of the things you guys mentioned, I want to touch on it. One of it is, do you have to have a degree to work as a cloud engineer? And the answer is no, you don't have to have a degree. I know at least 5 people that I know personally that are working in the cloud field that are doing very well and don't have college degrees at all, right? But am I saying don't get a college degree? No. You certainly don't need it to work in the cloud field, but if you go into your company and you see that that is something they are leaning towards more, or is a requirement for them for you to have a degree, there are certainly online degrees you can take to get your bachelor's degree. But I wouldn't recommend you going and spending a lot of money right now to get a degree online, because I still have student loan, and I got my bachelor's degree online. The university I went to had an online program. So when I graduated with my associate, I went back online to get my bachelor's degree. So I still have the student loan from that. So I wouldn't say go and get a degree. No, you don't need a degree to work in the cloud. But if a degree is just a personal choice for you, if you feel it's something you need to have, and the company you are working for, you want to advance there and they are requiring it, then it might be something you should look into. And with a lot of this cloud industry, a lot of these tech companies, if you are willing to go to school to learn something, they would pay for it. So that is also another route you can use while you are already in the field to take advantage of whatever program your company has to get your bachelor's degree or any type of degree if you are interested in that. So certainly you don't need a degree. Another thing that someone mentioned is about the mentoring session. My goal is to get you guys efficient to the point where you guys can be a mentor of your own. So which is why one of the reasons why we have the Slack channel is, one thing I want to encourage you guys to do is, as you are doing the project, one of the ways to test your knowledge is when someone asks a question, see if you can help them resolve the issues they have, which is why I always recommend to put your question in our main groups channel, so that way everyone can see it and it will take it as a challenge, because whatever issue the person is facing, it would be an issue from the project you are also working on, whether you've worked on it or you are still going to work on it. So I want you guys to take it as a challenge to help each other resolve those questions. And once you get efficient enough in the cloud, I recommend, and maybe this is a conversation for another day, but I recommend taking your cloud position and your cloud experience more than just doing a 9 to 5. When you finally get the skills, you would understand what it takes to get the skills. So what I would recommend is that you start looking into how you can use it to help other people that are trying to join the cloud industry. And it could also be a way that you can use to level up your income. That is certainly what I'm doing now. I learned the skills, and now I'm using the skills to teach you guys. So I always recommend that. So that's one of the ways you can see helping someone now as a challenge, as a way to level up when it comes to also making extra income in terms of taking it more than the 9 to 5. So I'll stop there for now. At those two, I'll come back to my notes. I believe David has his hand up first. So David, please ask your question.
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. And as thank you for this opportunity to be here. Based on what it was said before about having the tech environment experience, in case you've been asked, what is your day-to-day like? I love the answers that you gave, because it has to do with two classes of people who are part of this group right now. Mm-hmm. Now, there are some of us here, like, was it Edgar that spoke before? And Adu that has experience in the tech field already, though it's not DevOps, right? Mm-hmm. So they can actually talk about and use the DevOps experience, the projects that they are doing right now, and also mesh that with the experience they already have mm-hmm. in whatever role that they are working right now in the IT industry. It's mm-hmm. easier for them to talk about. But for those of us who don't have any IT experience, it will probably be very difficult for us to simulate an environment in IT fields to talk about during interview. So what I will also suggest here is that if it is possible for you as our mentor right now to, apart from the self-studies that we are doing, mm-hmm. we simulate a kind of project, and a business requirement from a company. Mm-hmm. And we talk about the business requirements so that we see how the requirement is translated into how it's given to the architect to design and all of that, mm-hmm. and how it is given out. It's mm-hmm. like you made mention that Itwa is a Scrum Master, that she can come in and kind of break the job into different sprints, and we take up the job and you probably will assign roles to every one of us here, or we'll be in a group, then we handle those projects the way it is done in real life. I think that will kind of simulate the kind of environment that will give us the kind of confidence to talk during interview. And like you said, also, I wouldn't support us applying for senior roles at this time, no matter what experience that we are getting from the training right now, so that the pressure of saying so much during the interview will not be required. But I think if we can talk about the use of Terraform, we can talk about the cloud environment and the resources that are there. If we can talk about how the pipeline, the DevOps pipeline, how the life cycle and all of that, I think there will probably be a chance for whoever is coming in as an associate or an entry-level person. So that will give you an edge, maybe with your job experience, to kind of start applying for a senior position. But for right now, I would suggest you kind of give us that kind of feeling where we work together collaboratively and just beyond the normal self-study that we are doing. It might just be a simple project, but we take it up, break us into groups, and so that we have that conversation and have that feeling how it really looks like in real time. So that's my suggestion.
Oh, great. That is actually a perfect suggestion. I had something similar in mind, but it didn't come to mind when Elise asked the question. But I agree with you. I feel like for every project you guys are doing now, my main intentions for everyone is do the project. I always say, I have the saying that make sure you do the project to understand it. Don't do the project to complete it. So if you follow the project from 0 to 100% and you are done, that doesn't mean you are done. You should understand that you are done with that project if you sit down with me and you can explain every aspect of that project. Or if I give you another web files and I say, I want you to deploy this application in the cloud, but it is similar to the ones you worked in this project, you should be able to do it from beginning to end, troubleshoot your own issue and all that stuff. If you can do it, then that lets me know that you understand that project end to end. So I agree with you, David, that we should, and with the plan that I had before was, for every project you guys do, I want to have is another application for you guys that you have to do on your own and deploy it from beginning to end. We can either do it on a project base, or you can get all the knowledge. I think what will probably be much efficient is get all the knowledge, and when you feel you are ready to start applying for job, I would have another application for you. I would create some real life scenarios requirement, and you would have to deploy that application based on the skills you need to learn. So I'll give you one application, but you will have to deploy it in multiple ways based on these requirements that I was showing you in the what you need to learn to be a cloud engineer. So you will have to deploy the application using EC2. You would have to deploy the application using ECS Fargate. You will have to deploy the application using Terraform, and you would have to deploy the application using CI/CD. So I believe that if you can deploy the application using that and all the different requirements that I've given you, I personally will give you a recommendation if you need to have a recommendation for your job for someone to be able to vouch for you that you've done these things and you can you are the right fit for their position.
Okay,
but I would only be willing to give you a reference if you complete the requirements and you are able to deploy the application on your own. Because like I always tell you guys, you don't have to be an expert and know it all, But I'm telling you, if you take one application, you can deploy the application using EC2 framework. You can deploy the application using Docker ECS Fargate framework. You can deploy the application using Terraform. You can deploy it using CI/CD, or you can deploy it using Ansible. You are good to go. The rest you will be learning as you go. So that is what I would say. And if you can prove to me at the end that you can do that, I will personally give you a reference. Okay,
Sure.
Miguel, you can go ahead.
Just a quick question. So this cloud mentorship program, is it a 6-month program? How long is it?
So the cloud mentorship program, the 6 months that I put there is a proposed schedule for you to learn what you need to learn to be efficient. But certainly, as you guys know, the course is self-paced and everyone work at a different pace than others.
Yeah.
So, and it goes back to what I said previously, that you will know when you are done with the project when you understand it. So even though the 6 months is a proposed schedule, it could take some people less than 6 months. It could take some people more than 6 months. Your time schedule will be based on when you feel you absolutely understand everything about each project you've worked on. That is when you are ready to move on to the next project. That is when you are done with that project.
Okay, that's good. But we will always be part of this community, right? Even though we're done with the projects, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So one thing I'm doing is I'm still leaving everyone in the Slack channel. But one thing I would mention is I always limit it on a general knowledge now about just asking questions and things like that. Yes, I leave everyone in the Slack channel, but I would limit it to that because, for example, let's say you have a requirement at your job where they need you to configure something. I've already said that sometimes when you have to do a particular task, you may not know it immediately, but you need to do a research on it to learn it. So I want to limit this session to just being able to help each other out, but I don't want to extend it to someone asking specific question about how to configure something for 2 reasons. I'll be honest, I may not have implemented that service before, so I would have to do a research on it. And 2, someone may be working in someone else's bootcamp and they are giving them something to do and they want to use it, this medium, as an opportunity to get their questions answered. So while I'm still leaving everyone here, I still want to make sure that I help you guys out, but I don't want to, how do I best put it? I don't want someone to be doing something elsewhere and asking the question here, if it makes sense. So
yeah, that's about right.
Just for those 2 reasons. But certainly, even if you cancel your membership, you can certainly join these sessions if you want.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Who else? I'm trying to read. Yeah, so we've already so what should you say about when they ask you about your day-to-day? So your day-to-day is centered around it. As a starting point, if they ask you about your day-to-day is whatever you have on your resume, right? So they've seen your resume and they are interviewing you based on what you've put on your resume. So as we discussed earlier, some people may have not joined when we discussed it. Your day-to-day as it stands right now, as I see with this group, falls into 2 categories. There are some people that already have IT experience. Even though it's not necessarily cloud, it is still IT experience. So it is much easier for those people to take the projects they are working on now and tie it into their day-to-day of what they are doing. And there are also some people that don't have IT background and they are not working and what they are working on now is not IT related. That I'm still trying to figure out the best way to tie to your day-to-day. But I would certainly say when they ask you about your day-to-day, it is whatever you've put on your resume. So for example, if I talk about my day-to-day, I will tell them, introduce myself. My name is Aziz. I work as a cloud and DevOps engineer for this person, this particular company. And my day-to-day, one of the things I do on a day-to-day is where I deploy different applications for my team in the cloud, and a typical reference architecture for those projects for the application I have deployed for my team is, then I will go into the same things you guys are doing, which is describe the VPC. The VPC has public and private subnets. The private subnets has 2 tiers. I'll talk about the first tier being used as the tier where we used to serve the app servers. And I'll talk about the next tier. The next tier is we use the second tier of the private subnets for RDS instance. And we have the public subnet for services like application load balancer, NAT gateways that needs to be in the public subnets. Some of the other things I've also implemented to deploy this application is creating the security groups to set up the firewall to make sure that we are allowing the right traffic into our network for the application. Other things that I've set up is SSL certificate to encrypt data in transit. So you just keep going on like that and describing the projects you've worked on based on your understanding. So I've like I said, interviews, and the more interviews you do, you will get comfortable with it. Interviews is more of like a conversation. So I know you will get in some interview, you'll feel like you are in an interrogation session. But I would like to say it is probably due to lack of experience on whoever is interviewing you's part. Because some people's style of interview is to just grill you with a bunch of questions. But really, like I said, a cloud engineer's job in this field, most of the time they will assign something to you that you don't even know immediately because you haven't implemented before. But you are able to do research. You are able to do research to be able to implement it and complete the task. So a smart interviewer should know that a smart interviewer should be able to gauge your level of experience as it relates to how you can get certain things, how you can get the tasks that are assigned to you done. So they shouldn't gauge you on if you know a particular definition of a service, what is EC2, what is S3. Certainly, certain questions are basic. You should know those, but a good interviewer will try to gauge your level of experience and use that to determine that you are qualified for the position, if that makes sense. Okay. Another thing that someone mentioned is getting turned down by job, right? So you guys don't worry about getting turned down. It is part of the process. I get turned down all the time too. Even in the beginning when I started, I always get turned down, right? I've had an interview with AWS themselves. I didn't make it, right? And that is fine. I've had interviews with some other companies that I didn't make, and I've had other interviews that I've gotten an offer that I've also turned down, right? So it's part of the process. Don't beat yourself up if you apply to a company and you get turned down. And another thing I would say is don't fix your mind on a particular company that you have to work for this company. You will also find out that the smaller tech companies would pay comparable amounts to the big tech companies. And at the smaller tech companies, you will have much more of a smoother experience working for them, because since it's so small, you'll be doing a lot and you will learn a lot. So me personally, I love working for smaller tech companies. So usually when I apply, I go for the smaller companies. So if you get turned down, please understand that it is part of the process. So don't worry about it at all. Edgar, you can go ahead with your question, please.
Oh yeah, I see. So what usually I do here in your project in a video tutorial is like I start from the beginning until I in the end, and then I repeat that second time, and after I finish that for the second time, I do it by my own without looking with your videos in order for me to understand all those concepts. So my question is assuming that we're done with that project, is it something that we're allowed to say put that in social media that this is what project that I'm doing, and then this is how I do it, like that? Is it possible for us, or are you allowed to do that for us?
Yes.
Also?
So yes, that's a good question. So yes, if you once you are done with the project, if you want to share your experience with the project, certainly you can take screenshots of your deployment, the steps you use to deploy it. If you want to explain that, I know in Medium post, that's what people do. They take screenshots and they explain it. So certainly you can do that. The main thing is that the only main thing that I ask is that whatever web files that I've shared with you guys that you are using to complete the project, that you don't include that in whatever you are sharing. But certainly if you want to share your experience with the project, you can do that through you can do that through whatever medium you are trying to use. And certainly, in order for your repository, when you get to the Terraform project, in order for your recruiters to see your repository, another thing I'm working on is the best way we can highlight the Terraform project on your resume and include the resume to the code repository on your resume, so that we can maximize your effort in that area. So in order for those recruiters to see your repository, it has to be public. So when you work on those, if you want to share your final code repository with people you are sharing it with, that is also fine as well.
So basically it's we have to create our own GitHub account, and then when we do our screenshot on our AWS, so I have to do the screenshot that I have when I have to log in using my AWS account, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so the projects are broken down into different parts. Right now you are doing the projects in the management console, right? So if you want to share that project, the only way you can share it is through the screenshots, right? Because we don't have code for that project yet. So you can only take screenshots and share it. But then when you get to the Terraform project, you can also, if you want to write a post about the project, you can write a post about it. But I'm also saying that in those Terraform projects, you will have Terraform code in your GitHub repository. And if you want to share your code with people you are sharing your experience with, you can also do that as well.
So if I have to share that in LinkedIn, are you okay to I put you in the tag?
Oh yes, please. I would certainly appreciate it. So Miguel in the chat, Miguel just shared one of the Medium posts he wrote with the first project he completed. So you can look at that and use it as a reference. Certainly, please, I would appreciate it if you guys, when you guys complete the project, if you can please give me a reference on that. Also, I also have an affiliate program with with this program that I can give you guys the affiliate link. Let's say you write a post and people are clicking on your link to come to my site and they end up signing up, right? I would give you 20% of that revenue. So for example, let's say someone signed up to the mentorship program. And as you guys know, the mentorship program is every month. So for as long as the person is signed up every month, you also get 20% of the revenue every month. So I do have an affiliate program that that you can join if you want to provide reference to my program, and you also want to use it as a way to earn money too. I have certain people in my affiliate program now that earns good amount. Like I was doing my tax, preparing my tax thing this weekend, and I noticed that one particular person that just started my affiliate program just a couple of months ago, I've already paid that person over $5,000. So you can make a good amount doing it. It's also based on
I need it.
so it's also I would put the link to the affiliate program in the Slack channel. So when you write your post, Miguel and Edgar, you can use the affiliate link to link to the site when you recommend it. And if someone click on that link and even if they sign up for anything on my course after they've used your link to access my site, you still get credit for it. So
okay, so one last question is like, every time when you provide those like video, you have those like reference architecture. So is it like for us okay to also like put those like reference architecture, let's say in LinkedIn?
Yes, you can use the reference architecture as well. So yes, the reference architecture that I've shared, as long as you provide the reference back to me, it's fine. You can use the reference architecture as well. And the reference architecture, you guys don't have to be efficient in it, but I would recommend that at some point, let's say if you have free time, work on a reference architecture of your own just to help you learn, because you won't be creating reference architecture at work unless you are a solutions architect. But when you are creating the reference architecture, it helps you understand, oh, okay, I'm creating a private subnet. This box represents private subnet. And in this box, I want to put my database in it. So that was one of the ways that I used to learn cloud. So it is not a requirement. I'm not saying create your own reference architecture. You can use mine when you create your post. But if you are also looking for ways to enhance your knowledge, creating reference architecture diagrams for the projects will also help you out.
Yeah, that's what my plan, like, doing my own reference architecture, but like, I'll just like look yours and then maybe something like I have to add something or enhance. So that's all I need.
Exactly. Yes, you can do that as well. That is fine.
Aziz, just to piggyback on Edgar's question. So there are repositories in several projects, right? Are we gonna have? You mentioned that we're gonna have our own too. Like, we will have our own GitHub account where we will have our repositories, something that we can showcase to the employers.
Absolutely.
Because I think that's better rather than showing your repositories because it's yours. But
Yes.
maybe we can show them something that we really built on our own. Will we have a chance to learn how to do those things? I hope I'm making sense.
Yes, you are. Absolutely. You will have your own repository. So by the time we get to the Terraform code where we are deploying, by the time we get to the Terraform project where we are writing our Terraform code, those codes are stored in your repository, not mine. So,
Okay, cool.
So all the projects where we are automating something, including our CD pipeline, everything, the Python scripts, everything will be in your repository. And at the end, I think I want to organize my repository. My repository is based on the projects that we've done.
Yeah.
Once I organize my repository, I want to show you guys what it looks like. So you guys can also organize your repository the same exact way. But the Terraform projects and all the scripting projects we will do, the code will be in your own personal repository that you can share with the recruiters. Yeah.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect.
good.
Thank you.
No problem. You're welcome. So someone asked, how did I get my first cloud job when I didn't have cloud experience? Specifically, how did I convince them to give me the job, considering that I don't have prior experience? Great question. When I got my first cloud job, yes, I didn't have experience in terms of I didn't work in the field prior to, I didn't have any IT experience. The field that I was working in was not IT related. But how I got my first job is I did the WordPress project. That was the very first project I ever did. I did the WordPress project. I did it in the management console, and I also did it back then with CloudFormation. Then I had my interview. I remember the interview was with CGI, and the manager spoke to me. I spoke to the recruiter. Then I ended up speaking to the manager. Luckily for me at that time, the interview was only 2 rounds. I think I spoke to one person. Then after that, I spoke to the hiring manager itself. Then during my interview with the hiring manager, I had already completed the WordPress project using CloudFormation. So prior to my interview, I deployed my CloudFormation template to deploy the application. So maybe like 10 minutes to my interview, I ran my CloudFormation template so that the WordPress site is up. I also made sure that I customized the site to make it look a little bit professional. Then during my interview, I just told him that I've worked on several projects, that this is one of the projects that I've worked on, and I sent the link to the WordPress site to the manager in the same Zoom chat that we were using. And I also sent him a diagram of the reference architecture. So basically, he just literally used that as a point for the interview. So for the entire interview, he asked me the questions based around the reference architecture and the WordPress site. So he was clicking on the links. He clicked on the link and was just asking several questions. So he said, why did you do it this way? So how does your security group work? So basically, he just went with the reference architecture and clicking on the site. At the end, he realized that I didn't have an extensive knowledge in cloud, because then I don't even know CI/CD. So I'm saying that whenever I got a job, you guys definitely know more than me now than I know then. So he understand that I didn't know CI/CD. So he was telling me that there is far more things to learn, but he likes where I am, and he likes the effort that I've put into wanting to learn. And based off that, he hired me as like a junior engineer. And then they offered me 90,000 a year. So that was how I got my first opportunity in the cloud. But I ended up not working for CGI, because I also had another interview with a different company at the same time, and they also offered me. I used the same strategy with them too, and they also offered me with the position, and I went with that other company. So I got 2 offers at the same time using the same strategy. Sorry, I think someone was speaking. Didn't mean to cut you.
Oh no, I just want to help Aziz in answering some of the question. Like, how are you gonna? Some of us don't have IT background like me, so I work at the hospital setting. Regardless of the job that you have, there's always a way to connect it to the cloud computing job role that we're applying for. Mm-hmm. For example, I'm a nursing assistant. I deal with patients, right? We also have computers. There are times that the patient's data are down. We cannot access it. And I think there's a problem with the automation there. And with the skills that I learned from Aziz, from this mentorship program via Terraform, CloudFormation, it automates things, and it uses some AWS technology like EC2, which is highly available and scalable and cost effective. If the company will use that, then we will have lesser downtime. So there will always be a way to connect things that you do at work, even if it's not IT skill. I think that's one of the things that gets us intimidated because, I don't have IT background. I don't have solid experience. We just need to remember, guys, that the job requirements, these are just the wish list of the company. Wish list. So there's no unicorn type of person that can do all of those. But what we can do is to champion what we have here in the Cloud Mentorship Program, the projects. We are really lucky because we are learning from someone who's been there, not just a trainer. That's why I really like learning from Aziz, because he's done the job before. He doesn't only teach, but he got his hands dirty before. He built his way up from the ground. He's been a cloud engineer for several years, and we're learning from someone who had good experience.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Edgar. And that is a good point. Certainly you can, exactly what Edgar said is right. Certainly, even if you don't have IT experience, right? When they tell you about your day-to-day, you can start by saying, I worked here as I worked in your current position, but briefly talk about it, but then immediately tie it into cloud. But they love that, because trust me, a lot of company, I know past projects that I've worked on, a lot of people on my team did bootcamp. So they didn't, because there's no college that is teaching cloud. Some colleges are starting to teach it, but think about it, by the time you go to college for 4 years to learn about AWS, how often AWS changed the management console? It's like they always change it. I feel like they are changing everything like every week. So by the time you learn something, before 4 years has passed, that thing may have been outdated, which is why I also don't recommend buying books on cloud technologies, because by the time you read the book today, 6 months from now, the information in the book may be outdated. Certainly, majority of it will work, but some parts of it may be outdated because the cloud field is always changing rapidly. So the best way to learn about it is to get your hands dirty, do hands-on projects, and be able to demonstrate that you are efficient, you can do those projects. So I like what Edgar said, that talk about your current position and talk about how the current skills you have built through the projects you have done, how you would use it at your current field to help your company achieve a certain goal. I think if you put it that way, certainly you can definitely get past that question of tell me about your day-to-day, because the main ultimate goal about your day-to-day is they want a brief introduction of you, and 95% of your question is what skills do you have in cloud that we are looking for. So anything you are talking during that time of tell me about yourself, as long as it is cloud related and you are making sense and you are proving to them that you do know these cloud technologies and you know how to implement them, you will get a job.
Yeah,
you'll be able to get past that question. So I like what Edgar said. Don't focus so much on the fact that you didn't have a prior IT background. Because
so it's actually Miguel. Just sorry to interrupt you. As it's Miguel.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm looking at your name because it's Miguel. Thank you, Miguel. Yeah. So, thank you, Edgar. So yes, thanks, Miguel, for the recommendation.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I know Elise and Edgar's question, but G Bulahan, I highly recommend, since we're starting, let's not focus on getting the job already or applying for a role. I've been there. I've been turned down so many times, even if it's not the cloud position. But let's focus on building our foundation first, our skills and knowledge. Did you know that when I tried to before I got certified for cloud practitioner and solutions architecture, the program is just like, it should be finished within a month or two. A lot of people can finish it in 1 or 2 months. I don't know maybe how many brains they have, but for me, it took me a year to finish it because I really took my time to understand. It's a mixture of theory and hands-on labs that help me achieve those certifications. So let's be easy on ourselves. Let's take our time to learn it. Like what Aziz said, don't just finish a project. Learn to understand it, and if you need supplemental courses. It says on the mentorship program that it's highly recommended to finish the cloud practitioner and solutions architect, which is I did. It really helps a lot to build your foundation. Yeah,
Yes.
I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Miguel. That is very important. I've told several people here that I've had one-on-one session with that is exactly what I recommend. The money you will make in cloud is the byproduct of your skill sets. It is not the other way around, right? So when you are transitioning into the cloud, I'm saying put the skill sets before the money. I can guarantee you that if you know all the things you need to know, you can walk in any company's interview and demand what you want to get paid. In the cloud, there is a lot of money. They would pay you. The only difference is, are you able to prove to them that you have the right skill sets, that you are whatever they are paying. So basically, if you have the skill sets and you have proven to them that you have the skill sets for what they need, they will pay you whatever you are asking for. I've heard stories of people asking for $70,000, $100,000 just for signing bonus. So what is the difference between a company feeling like someone is worth them paying $100,000 signing bonus to, or them feeling like you're crazy for asking for that amount? The difference is them thinking, oh yes, this person is worth it. So I would repeat again, making the money is a byproduct of having the skills. It is not the other way around. So going with what Miguel said, focus on getting the skills. The money will come, I guarantee you. I will go into my personal story about how cloud has changed my life, maybe like in the next time we meet, right? But even I can assure you that the money will come. So, and I understand everyone's situation. Everyone's situation is different. We want to change our situation so bad right now. And I would say that is fine. I was also in that position where I was desperate to change my situation, right? But still, at that time, I made sure I got all the skills that I need before I even put myself on the market. So that is one of the strategies I used to give myself a chance to get a job faster. So I 100% agree with what Miguel said. 6 months to a year is not a long time to get all the skills that you need, because once you have the job, you have the job, and it is truly going to be life-changing. So that is what I would say. Thank you, Miguel, for that. Elise was next, so Elise, you can go. Then whoever is next, you can raise your hand, and we'll just go in that order.
Okay, we'll be here for another, but it's great conversation. It's over. Yeah, anyways, so I saw that I was reading through the chat here, and I saw that someone was asking about, getting interviews is harder, because the field is competitive. Now, I think you dropped something earlier as well, that your problem is getting call back and stuff like that. I would say, honestly, even me being that, I am a Scrum Master, also, I'm well aware of, like the saturation. That's for Scrum Master. Now for DevOps though, I was one of the ones that, wanted to get a job, like literally the minute I was finished with my first project. And I was already talking to Aziz like, hey, I'm ready. And so he had to kind of, slow me down a little bit. But he talked a lot of sense into me. So anyways, with that being said, you have to, first of all, you have to take a look at your resume, right? You have to take a look at your resume, what's on your resume, and make sure that it's, you have all those keywords. That's number one. Number two, if you are actively searching, you will find. put my because for me, I literally put my resume online, and I had like three recruiters reach out to me, and like serious recruiters. I'm not talking about like those ones that like literally serious recruiters wanting to for me to meet up with the hiring manager. So what I'm saying is that you will definitely just make sure that your resume is up to par, that you definitely have the keywords and it's visible, right? And if you did that, you feel like your resume is up to par, and you are seriously and you want to start interviewing, because everybody's at a different pace, so if you feel like you are ready, just treat it as your full-time job, applying to jobs. Get familiar with the recruiters, get on LinkedIn, make sure your LinkedIn is looking good, because a lot of them reached out through LinkedIn. Interact there, because I did the same thing, because I mean, for the longest I was like, I couldn't get a Scrum Master job, but once I started being active on my LinkedIn, I mean, the recruiters were coming left and right. So the jobs are there for sure, especially for DevOps. The jobs are definitely there, but you have to do your part. Make sure that your resume is up to par, that your knowledge is up to par, that even when because some of the recruiters, they might not know much, but they have like some keywords that they want to hear you say. So you want to make sure you're ready for all of that. So definitely, I mean, it is competitive, but it's not like something that's like oversaturated or even saturated at all, compared to Scrum. So that's just what I wanted to say. So don't feel like you're not getting anything. Hopefully.
Exactly. I 100% agree. Yes, it might be competitive, but I can show you LinkedIn. I can show you Indeed right now. That is just one job from, and I will type cloud engineer job, and I guarantee you I'll get more than 20,000 results. There is tons of jobs. The main thing is you just need one of those jobs, right? So you want to be making sure that you are doing the right things you need to do to prepare yourself for that opportunity. I've had several people that I've trained, right? Several people that I've trained, and they've gotten the opportunity. And I always say, prepare for the opportunity, because you only need one job. So if you slack today, you don't do it tomorrow, and you just jump back and forth, right? You're kind of hurting yourself in a way that when they finally got the interview and they asked them a simple question that was actually in the project, but because they didn't finish that project or skip that part of the project, they lost that opportunity. So I am guaranteeing you that if you do what you need to do, learn what you need to learn, the skills are the skills, right? What the companies require is what they require. And if you know how to build infrastructure using Terraform, you already know it. So that's one skills you have conquered. And I think Elise said it perfectly, get the knowledge of what you need to do. And if you have a resume that you are not getting callbacks, then we need to look at your resume. You need to make sure that your resume has, like Elise said, all the keywords. It is presented in a way that is enticing recruiters to want to reach out to you. And one thing you guys should not underestimate is using a professional resume writer. In this program, I'm providing you with a template that you can start with, but ultimately, I would recommend that you reach out to a professional resume writer to help you put it together in a professional way. Certainly, when I started, I came up with my final resume. I went through several resume writers because I started by writing it myself. I wasn't getting any callbacks. Then I had to go find a professional to write my resume for me. You are still going to give them your requirement, but they can present your experience in a way that will entice the recruiter. So don't underestimate the power of using a professional resume writer. A lot of people always tell me, do my resume for me. Trust me, I can look at the requirements on your resume but I still don't have that experience of a professional resume writer. So that's what I would say on that. But at least I don't even want to say anything over what you said, because I think you said it perfectly. Okay. So I am reading through the comments. Yes, I did go through the self-learning route, and maybe I know we are over time. That is, I will create some topics of things I want to discuss in our next session when we meet. Then I would go over those. So another thing I want to do is, maybe when you guys feel ready to start applying, at the end, I will want to give you a final project that I said you have to complete using the main tools that are required for you to be a cloud engineer. And if you can demonstrate that you can do it on your own, then you are pretty much good to go. Just looking through here, make sure I don't miss anything. Yes, completing the Cloud Practitioner Solutions Architect course, doing your certification exam, and doing hands-on experience is IT experience. Some people might look at it as it's not IT experience from you are not working at the company, but look at it as IT experience because you can actually do what the company is requiring on their job requirement. So if the company on their job requirement is saying they need you to, as part of your job requirement, you need to be able to deploy application in AWS using Terraform. If you are confident that you can deploy an application in AWS using Terraform, and you can demonstrate that knowledge, yes, it is an IT experience. So don't always look at it from working on a job standpoint. So I think that is all. Does anyone have any questions? Because I don't want to hold you guys longer. I like to keep this fairly short to like the 2 hours. So that way, when you guys go back to watch it, you can fairly get through it fairly quick. So does anyone have any other question before we end this session?
That's all for me. Thank you so much, Aziz and everyone. This is a good session.
Thank you, Miguel.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Likewise, you too. Bye, everyone. Yeah,
Everything's good. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you, Aziz.
All right. Thank you,
Aziz,
everyone.
and everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.